Somebody's not in their home studio today.
I'm in the great city of.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. Another week, another slate of great shows we have coming at you. Anthony Melchiori, so great to see you today, my friend.
I know you're a big sports fan, right?
Oh, my God. Ravenous. I can't get enough.
Willie Stargell. What team?
Pittsburgh Pirates.
Very good. So where am I? Yeah.
Jersey.
I'm in the great city of Pittsburgh.
I love the city of Pittsburgh.
So ask me what I'm doing here.
I will ask you what you're doing here, but that is something that I think people are going to need to wait on for just a second, Anthony. We like to pique the interest. We like to make sure that everybody's watching. We like to talk about how this incredible eco bin is now officially called the Tellurian, which sounds like a very, very good species in Star Trek. Now, they got black and white, so you don't only have to have the black ones. They've got a new size and a great starter pack that comes with 5 wastebaskets and 10 liners. And right now, our friends over at Ecotech are running a spring cleaning sale in honor of Earth Day, which is later this week on the 22nd. Be sure to get this. You already know what's going to be happening. We're going to be talking to somebody in a few minutes who I'm sure is going to tell us those live events are going to be coming back. What a great opportunity is now to save money on labor, save money on costs, all that good stuff, right, Anthony?
And if he loved us, he would call our man over there and say, "Hey, why don't I buy 1.5 million boxes this year?"
That's right. Or honestly, we'd be happy if you only bought 1 million. Tell them No Vacancy sent you. All right, Anthony, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today that relates directly to you. So you're in Pittsburgh. What's going on?
If I tell you, I have to shoot you.
Damn it. All right, so let's skip Pittsburgh and let's go over
you didn't even know I was coming out here.
I did not know I was coming back out here, but that's you like to keep things fresh.
We're working on a program, but it's not a hotel related show, but it may or may not be a TV show.
All right, it's I understand it's a new hair care show that's going to be coming out on Netflix next year. All right, Anthony, but the big announcement, finally, you've been teasing it. You've been talking about it. You've been intimating that it is happening. You made a big announcement today. It's official. What's going on?
Well, what we're doing is we're working with a great company called Pacific 6, and we partnered with them to not hopefully, but soon bring the Breakers to life. The Breakers Hotel in Long Beach, California. It's a historic hotel. Actually, I believe it was the 3rd hotel in the Hilton chain, and it was Conrad Hilton's kind of pet project. And over the years, it went through different transitions, and now we're bringing it back to its glory days. And it's going to have a rooftop bar. It's going to have a pool. It's going to have a Joey's Adori restaurant. Joey's Adori from Black Tap, Michelin star chef. And me and my partners team are working on it. And Pacific 6 and their team and my team, we're going to bring this thing to life. And you didn't show the Instagram post that I put up with my beautiful, handsome team.
Because I only had access to that. However, our producing team will be bringing it up right now.
Okay.
Boom! There it is.
Boom! And right behind us, that's John Molina next to me. Next to Joey Zadori, and then the rest of our team. And right behind us, you can see a building under construction. That's the Breakers in Long Beach, California, and it's going to be a real destination hotel. And I just can't. It's probably a 2-year project. Cannot wait to bring that thing to life.
Yeah, that's awesome. I can't wait to see what happens. I've sat behind the scenes and heard a couple of things, so I know how amazing it's going to be. I can't wait for all of you out there to find out how amazing it's going to be. I don't know how I'm going to be keep quiet about all the details here for the next 2 years, Anthony.
Well, I won't tell you that much. I like keeping things secret. I told you, nobody even knew I had Hotel Impossible until it was on the air. Just like you didn't even know I was coming to Pittsburgh to shoot a show, did you?
No. Although you might have told me, my listening skills aren't that great, you know?
Yeah, I realize it. You were in the woods. You were in the woods too much. But yeah, I'm really excited. John Molina, what a great person, what a great partner to have, and his team at Pacific Six and my team. So we're really excited. The Breakers Hotel, Long Beach has never really had a hotel like this at this level. And it's a really delicate balance because you want a first class hotel, but you also want something comfortable and approachable. You want the food to be comfortable and approachable. We're really taking a lot of time. They've done a lot of work before we even got involved. So great team, and I'm really excited.
Excellent. Well, I can't wait for all of us to learn along with you what you're up to. And of course, that's not the only thing that Anthony's doing behind the scenes as well.
Well, I can't talk about that yet. But just cross your fingers on that one. That's 30 days away. Same team though. Same team. We're working on it with the same team. But we're going to have John Molina and team on in the coming weeks.
Excellent. Yeah, excellent. Well, I can't wait to reveal all of it. Andy, that's so exciting. What a great way to start off the week over here in Pittsburgh. You got this hotel project you officially announced. Lots of stuff in the works. Really symbolic to me of all of the things that are coming back to us, how the industry is really starting to get back together. Now, the last time we had on our guest, Sloan Dean, the CEO and president over at Remington Hotels, he was not in that great of a mood. In the midst of a big crisis, handling things in a way that was so incredible, so admirable. So we've got him back here to make a little checkup on how he's doing a year later. What?
I was going to say something. I don't like that guy. You know why? He's young and handsome and in charge of a big company. I'm jealous.
All right, Sloan, welcome to the show. The gauntlet has been thrown down. Anthony is jealous of how big a company you're operating right now. Anthony's got potentially one hotel in the works. Who should be more threatened, you, Sloan, me, or Anthony?
Probably none of us. I think this is, all tides, rising tides lift all ships. So, but Anthony, if you need a third-party manager, just give me a call. Happy to partner on the Breakers. It's a great hotel.
Okay, I posted. I can't talk too much about it, but you may be on the short list.
All right, I look forward to it. Yeah. I was going to say things are getting better. I mean, last time we talked, it felt like we were walking through the valley of death, and now we've gotten through the valley and there's sunlight. So it is definitely improving and improving quicker than I think a lot of people anticipated. And the last 6 weeks, RevPAR has been a direct upshot, and I think we're looking at possibly domestic leisure demand this summer being higher than summer of 19.
Wow.
So if you're running a leisure-oriented hotel,
right,
you can be growing RevPAR year on year, June through August. So very encouraging to see.
And that's what we're seeing throughout the market as well.
Right. So it's interesting that you said you think it's coming back quicker than expected, but it's also slower than expected. This is the new round of quicker than expected because we all hoped things were going to come back in the latter part of last year. When did you start to feel that this time is real, this time is legitimate, this time it's really happening, and you can start to plan to go forward instead of worrying about where we were?
Yeah, I think I never had an expectation that we were going to have a V recovery. And even when we started to see recovery in August, September last year, never thought that it would hold because of the resurgence of the virus, and then the vaccines were still on the horizon. This time, what's different is you have wide distribution of the vaccine. You have, the majority of people 65 and over have been inoculated. You then have over 150 million doses have been given. And if you look at the travel that's happening now, it is from segments that weren't traveling up until 6-8 weeks ago. My parents are in their mid-70s. They've taken 2 trips in the last 2 months as an anecdotal example because they got vaccinated in January and February. I do think you're still not seeing business travel. You're still not seeing large group. There's still little to no foreign inbound, but the leisure domestic traveler is coming back. And that's what we saw in March with spring break. And that's what we'll see Memorial Day through Labor Day this summer is people want to get the hell out of their houses.
Yeah. And what I'm seeing is even with my friends that they're taking more than one trip. They're taking trips to just doing school during the vacation, during the day. And so I think that it's going to make up for it. Like you said, in 2019, I think we're going to exceed those numbers in the leisure market this summer. Just a personal question. Did you get your vaccine yet?
I did. I've gotten double doses of Moderna. I actually, unfortunately, got COVID in December,
Oh no.
and then I've been vaccinated. So I guess I have a double dose, and yeah, I'm over 2 weeks removed from my second dose.
Excellent.
That's
I am
great.
9 days from my second dose. Did you have any side effects, Sloan? I'm trying to.
I was super fatigued for 3 or 4 days with the second one, which they say if you've had it, it's usually the first one. The first vaccine didn't do anything to me. It was the second one that knocked me down. But you know, totally fine now. So if you're worried about it, I would just say it's best to do it on a Friday like I did and sleep the weekend away.
Yeah.
Everybody I know that's getting it, the next thing they do is they book a vacation. And but is it interesting to go to sleep like on a Monday at 40% in the hotel and then wake up on a Tuesday and be 80%?
It is. At almost half of our business is booking in the week for the week, and Friday and Saturday are now the Tuesday, Wednesday for our hotels. So that's where you're having a lot of staffing problems. Is hotels are now selling out frequently on the weekends, and they're having staffing problems because the shifts have changed. You need people working Wednesday through Sunday, not Monday through Friday now. And so the labor pool is having a shift as well. But it's crazy. I mean, yeah, you go into the beginning of the week and you may have 50% on the books and then you sell out that weekend.
Wow. So a lot of people.
And every place I go to, I'm sorry, every place I go to has a help wanted sign. We're shooting right after the show. We're shooting at Top Golf here, and in Pittsburgh, and there's a big sign that says help wanted. Every place I go,
Everywhere.
help wanted sign.
Oh yeah, I have open jobs at 100% of my hotels. We have over 500 jobs that I'm trying to fill right now. So that tells you the
So if you're
staffing.
not working, so if you're not working, you don't want to work.
That's exactly right. And we've had countless examples of calling prior associates. They don't want to come off the unemployment but then we've had to notify the state unemployment office that we've recalled them and they declined to work.
Right.
And so they're not eligible for unemployment anymore. So if people are listening in and out on unemployment, jobs are abundant right now in hotels. And the unemployment extra benefit ends in September 6th. So folks that were getting more from the federal government, that gravy train runs out Labor Day.
I don't know. I still don't understand that because it really isn't a whole lot of gravy getting all that, unemployment money. I'd like to focus more on.
But Glenn, if you're making minimum wage, people play that game. It's like after taxes, and so I can understand it. But what I don't understand is if you can get a good job for a good company, get it now because September, October, the job. Maybe they'll be filled. I wouldn't take a risk for 3 months. I just wouldn't do it. And a lot of people say, well, I'll take the summer and get a job in September. All right, good luck and God bless you.
Right. Yeah, that's sure. So Sloan, we've had on some CEOs of some of the major management companies here in the last couple of weeks, and they were explaining to me a lot of what you're saying. Hard to find people to work. A lot of people are now coming and pulling the trigger to stay in hotels, but they're finding they can't sell the rooms because they don't have the staff to turn them over. So it's actually a situation where you could be making more money. Is Remington Hotels or any of your individual properties experiencing that?
No, because what we've done is we've added some middle managers to compensate. And we actually have managers in some cases cleaning rooms.
Good.
So, we've tried to be as proactive. I've even had a couple of corporate associates go work in some hotels to clean rooms or work laundry. So we've supplemented either with contract labor or mid managers for hourly shortfalls. But for sure, I can see how some of my competitors, if they don't have maybe a labor strategy to augment the hourly shortfall, they wouldn't have enough people to clean the rooms. But we've got managers and we've even used corporate staff.
So if I go to that hotel, if I go to the hotel you have at the airport in New York, will I see you cleaning rooms potentially?
I might go work. I'm going to be at the Marriott LaGuardia tomorrow, Anthony. I'm having an all associate rally. I may have to go work laundry if necessary.
Good.
All right.
Got to do whatever it takes, man.
Listen, and Sloan, you're going to be showing them that you're part of the team. You're in it like they are. And I think this is great that all these managers have to kind of do it. Not only will it do what I just said, showing the team that you're there, you're all working together, but I think it will remind them how difficult some of these jobs are and might inform them a little bit on how to better connect with folks that are in those departments. Do you see it the same way?
Absolutely. I worked in housekeeping for 1 week, and the executive housekeeper wanted to fire me.
Right.
It's because I killed their productivity standards and didn't do well with the folding of the sheets. So I'm the first to recognize that our hourly associates have tough jobs, very physically intensive. So yeah, I think it definitely, for leaders, increases your empathy factor for sure.
Yeah,
well. In one day, I got fired from housekeeping in my hotel, and I got fired from the front desk for rating everyone. And then the union yelled at me because I was pouring coffee in the dining room. So I got fired from 3 positions in one day. So I feel you.
Congratulations, Anthony. That's quite the accomplishment you have there. That's awesome. So, Sloan, you were talking a little bit about how things are picking up. How do you get things up to speed? You can't just go from 0 to 60 instantly. You kind of need to make sure all the bones in the hotel are working all right, that the staff has been reoriented and retrained. What are some of the pressure points you're feeling, and how are you getting out there alleviating them?
That's a great, and I'll try and be concise because it's a long-winded answer. But if you go back to March of 2020, when the wheels on the bus came off, we effectively shut hotels down. Right. So it was a reverse engineering of hotels in a matter of a couple of weeks. We had to furlough or lay off staff. We had to close certain departments. And in some cities, a lot of hotels actually closed. We really stayed open everywhere that we were legally allowed to. You effectively, what we're witnessing now in March and April, a year later, is that we're reopening hotels. And so we have treated that very much like reopening a new construction project. So when do you bring back the chief engineer if they were on furlough? When do you reopen the restaurant? How do you have staffing protocols for different departments? And we have a whole tracking mechanism that tracks all our ancillary departments. So take restaurants. We operate 68 restaurants. Right now I have about 30 open, but we have a staggered opening to where I think by July 4th, I'll have 60 to 68 open. And it's driven off of occupancy forecast. And you have to have that kind of methodical every week, the leadership team looking at who do we need to bring back, and staging it almost like you're reopening hotels. And so that's the way you have to have a game plan. It can't be just haphazard. The GM is making their own decision of when to reopen certain things. It's got to be very numbers driven. And we've got a whole roadmap that we drive off of. It's almost the inverse of what we did last March, last April, but more elongated, right? Because, there's basically a 4 to 5 month window that we're kind of getting back to normal over. It's not just in weeks like when we fell off the cliff last March.
Right. So, in March, everybody was talking about a lot of hotels would go bankrupt, forbearance, the banks will take them back, all that stuff. I really haven't seen that much of that. Have you seen that in your own hotels? Have you seen, or your competitors, have you seen a lot of people lose their hotels?
No, we've seen a few situations of CMBS loans where the servicer was not, or special servicer was not being flexible, and it had mezzanine financing, and the mezzanine lender took equity as part of a UCC process. We've seen maybe a dozen of those.
Hold on. I'm going to stop you there. I'm going to ask you to go back and explain what you just said to the people that are maybe
this time in English.
to this career. So a lot of young people don't know.
Yeah, mezzanine financing, it sits between, call it common equity and your senior debt. And in a matter of default, so someone's not making their mortgage payment, a mezzanine lender can actually take an equity position as part of that default process and can take.
And explain what a mezzanine loan is supposed to do so people understand that.
It's basically to bridge the gap between like a senior traditional lender that is common debt to maybe put more leverage on a deal, so an owner of a hotel doesn't have to use as much cash to close. It's basically bridge financing that gets paid maybe a higher interest rate than the senior because it's riskier. And they also have an option to potentially flip to equity in a default scenario. So it's a hybrid of debt and equity, if you want to think about it. And so we have seen some of those mezzanine situations flip to equity. Absent that, we've really seen very little, and I don't think we'll see any more, quite frankly. You know, all your traditional lenders, so if you just had what's called a balance sheet, like a bank lending to you, they've given 12 months forbearance. They've allowed you to use your FF&E reserves to come up with working capital shortfalls. And so I think we're not going to see traditional banks take back any assets because they don't want them.
Okay, now
And I think
explain
this windfall of
forbearance.
bankruptcies.
Let me interrupt you. Explain forbearance and FF&E reserves. Those two
Yeah,
things so
so-
people understand.
Welcome to Hospitality 101. This is awesome.
You know
So
what?
FF
You know what? We have to remember that
Yeah.
not everybody
Yeah,
has
that's
been
the
doing
audience.
this
That's
like we
good.
have.
Yeah.
Yeah, so fixture, furniture, and equipment. So most lenders require you to reserve about 4% of your revenues go into an escrow account that then is used for future renovations. And it's held in a lot of cases and controlled by the lender. Well, or in some cases, the manager of the brand. A lot of lenders have allowed owners to use those basically cash accounts to cover working capital shortfall, like cover payroll, pay franchise fees. And that is staved off. It's almost like a loan
Right.
of your own money that's sitting in escrow. And that is staved off a lot of bankruptcies. And
Interesting.
then forbearance means I'm not going to make you pay a mortgage payment or interest payment for 6 months or 12 months. What they often do is say it's a 3-year loan. They say, I'll give you 12 months of deferred interest mortgage payment. It accrues. And then there's kind of a bullet payment at the end with the maturity. So it's basically delaying your mortgage and interest.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. Now, as far as that FF&E reserves, how do they get replenished? Do then the banks say, now you need to put away 5%, 6% until you get back to where you were?
That's what'll end up happening. Yeah, the reserves in future years will be higher to replenish the accounts over time.
Why is 4% the right amount for a reserve? Where does that come from?
I don't know. It's probably based off of historical capital cost of renovations.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably a banker from 1920s that came up with it,
Right.
and no one ever changed it. But what happens in new hotels, if it's a brand new hotel, it could be 3%. But we're not going to have as much change in the first couple of years. I've seen it as high as 5%.
Yeah,
Right.
That's right.
So it depends on the asset. It depends on your relationship with the bank, your past financial history, all of that kind of stuff.
But I think, absent, some hotels in New York because of labor issues, because of union, and because New York will be the last city to fully recover because of its reliance on foreign inbound and its reliance on citywides. And it will recover. It's just going to be the longest to recover. It's Chicago, San Francisco. That you will probably see more bankruptcy in those cities, but absent that, I think we will see very little to none. People have bridged to the other side, and we're now seeing recovery. Most of our hotels are cash flow positive now.
Wow.
So they're even covering mortgage and interest.
That's great. Like cash flow positive, like woohoo, or
just more like
yeah. Right.
It's still not where the owner is getting a great return.
But at least, right?
But they're covering property taxes, insurance, mortgage, interest, payroll. So most of our hotels are cash flow positive. And I think a lot of people who aren't overly exposed in New York or big union labor situations are probably starting to see that cash flow positive March to June. And that's going to stave off a lot of bankruptcies.
Yep. So, Anthony?
I was going to say, we always say people have short-term memories and they forget what's happening and they go back to normal. You ever want to see people with short-term memories? An owner of a hotel has a very short-term memory. They may forget that there was a pandemic 30 or that we're still in the pandemic. They're like, why aren't we sold out on Tuesdays at 100%? And where's all our corporate business? And where's all our banquets? And where's all our weddings on the weekends? Why isn't our banquets at 90% of what was 2019? So you're already starting to hear those conversations from owners.
Yeah, I'm a big tennis player, and my tennis coach when I was younger used to always say the best tennis player is the one with short-term memory loss, because you just forget about the point that you just lost and didn't harp on it. I equate that to what we've just gone through to an extent. I think if we didn't take the last year as hoteliers and say this was the best learning opportunity of our careers, then you really left yourself short. But we also have to forget about it some and move on mentally. And I think that's back to Glenn's original question around burnout. I'm seeing a lot of lingering mental health issues that people just can't get over it. It's not only owners, it's associates. And that's why at Remington, we've done this Spring Forward campaign. We're getting out visiting every hotel in the company in the month of April. We're getting our arms around associates. And quite frankly, we're seeing where operations are not back to where we need them to be. It's, hey, let's get this gym reopened. Let's get this restaurant reopened. It's allowing us executives to see it with our own eyes. And now that we're vaccinated, people feel safe coming together. But I think we've got to, as an industry, start thinking about now is the time to renew. And, back to your point, Anthony, we do need to have a little bit of memory loss. It's kind of like learn the lessons, improve, but let's move forward.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
But you
go for it. I was going to say about
burnout. I was going to say about burnout that you wouldn't think that people would be burned out because they're working from home. Burnout's at the highest it's ever been. Everybody I talk to is burnt out because it doesn't stop. I can't tell you the last time I had a day off. I really can't.
Yeah. Well, I think so. We had 7,000 associates pre-COVID. I got down to operating all 80 hotels with 475 associates the first week of April. We're back up to 2,700. Now, I was operating with 7,000. I'm operating with 2,700. Now, I have 500 jobs open, so I really want to have 3,300. And our occupancy is well into the mid-50s now. So I'm doing that all with less than half of the associates that we had COVID. And that's where you very much are getting burnout across the board. And there's no easy one solution. It is, we got to hire people faster. We got to augment with technology, but people in all levels are burned out. And if you're a leader of a company listening in and don't realize how significant, I'd encourage you to survey your people. We just did a company-wide survey at the end of March, and people are just exhausted. And so we've got to re-energize them for the new era. We've got a decade of probably travel boom in front of us. Mm-hmm. And the last thing you want to be doing is starting that ultra marathon with somebody who's, dehydrated and getting ready to pass out.
Well, how do you really know what's going on? And I'm just basing this on, generally speaking, human beings aren't necessarily honest when it comes to their mental health and whether or not they need help. So how are you trying to create a proactive environment to make sure a lot of these people don't fall through the cracks?
It's multifaceted. So I'll give you, this is what we're doing. So we're doing Spring Forward, where we're doing associate rallies at all 80 hotels. We then did an anonymous survey to all associates to figure out their burnout. And you may say, well, nobody's going to be honest across those. We then implemented a check-in process with ADP. We require every manager every month to do a one-on-one with their people that work for them. And you may say, well, they may not be comfortable being honest with their manager. We're then also at the corporate level tracking our spend on mental wellness as part of our health spend. And we went above and beyond and partnered with Health Check 360 to roll out a mental wellness program. And we've seen a huge uptake in that where, okay, you may say, well, you did a survey, we do these rallies, you have one-on-ones with your manager. An associate's not going to be honest or feel comfortable in any of those scenarios. Well, they can still anonymously go to Health Check 360, get free counseling. They do it on their phone. They get access to a psychologist through the mobile app, and it's anonymous. And so I think you have to be doing multiple things. You can't just say, well, the CEO did a webcast this week. We've checked in with the associates. It's got to be multi-pronged, and you have to be touching people in different ways.
So what you're really talking about is the difference between acting as if you care versus really doing something
Right.
that makes it.
That's exactly right.
Right. So many companies out there just go through the motions of it. They don't actually have a support system behind the scenes. And I love that you are really putting all of that emphasis in
And
this.
what do you do for managers? What are you doing for managers? That's for the employees, the managers that are meeting with you once a month. What are you doing for them? How they
The exact same thing. So say you're a GM, they're having a one-on-one with their VP. They participated in the survey, and then they have the same access to Health Check 360. And then we require all active managers to participate in my ongoing webcast that I do. I was doing them weekly, and we just moved them to monthly now at the 1 year mark. Mm-hmm. So they have access to the same things.
Right. Yeah. I want you to know my therapy when Fish was running dinner and a movie, a concert every week. When they moved that back to monthly, I don't know if I was ready for it, but now I can understand why you would go ahead and do that. But Sloan, I mean, I have the sense, though, that over this past year, it's been very tough for every human being. Do you think people are more open and honest now about their feelings and how they're dealing with these things than they might have been prior to the pandemic?
I don't think
Anthony,
so.
No.
I don't know. I mean, I think humans in general are still the same, right? And they're probably still pretty guarded. I think you have to have a culture that has multiple ways for people to get feedback if they're feeling vulnerable. Mm-hmm. And you have to lead. I call it leading with empathy, mm-hmm. and then pivoting to curiosity. And so that has to be embedded all the way ingrained through the culture. And maybe you don't make everybody feel comfortable coming out and saying, hey, I'm depressed, or, I'm burned out. But, I think it starts with the style of communication too, that, you give people multiple opportunities, and then you say it in a way that is open and honest. I'll give you an example. When I do my weekly company webcasts, I've shared some stuff I'm struggling with, where, I've had to lay off some people and shared that how I haven't been able to sleep at night and that kind of thing. And I don't think as a leader, you have to just always have the answer. I think showing you're a human, well, part of that helps people open up.
Yeah, I agree, because if you look at me, this is me being vulnerable right now. I'm giving you permission to do the same thing without judgment, right?
Right, exactly.
So how have you worked your way through the mental health issues over this past year? What are some of the strategies that you've employed in order to be able to be the best Sloan Dean you could be under the most adverse circumstances you face in your career?
So me personally, what have I done?
I'm not asking you necessarily to share all of your issues that you've been dealing with, but how you've gotten past.
Yeah, how much time do we have here?
Yeah, right.
I think life is movement. So for me, I run a lot. So I think just getting on a Peloton or going for a run has been the biggest inoculation for me. I'm also a double extrovert like both of you. Mm-hmm. So I think having these webcasts has been therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
To be able to connect with the people, even if they're upset and, firing a fireball at me, I like to hear it because I want to know what's going on. So I think if you're an extrovert or an introvert, having interactions in the workplace that are therapeutic for you is important. And then I think quite frankly, I've focused more on my diet and have cut out drinking a lot more. So I think that's probably the inverse of what a lot of people have done, and that they've self-medicated. Yeah. I don't think there's any one answer, but I do think, staying active physically, and then in the workplace, not just thinking I got to grind for 8 or 10 hours, but making sure that you're building relationships even in a remote environment. So I go back to those webcasts have been as therapeutic for me as they have been for the organization.
Anthony?
Yeah. First of all, don't tell anybody, Sloan, but I'm actually an introvert. Nobody believes me, but it's true. And Glenn knows that I am an introvert.
Really?
So,
yeah, most of us.
Yeah.
I really so am. Actually introverts.
That's amazing.
Look how shocked he is.
I know.
Yeah. The first corner I can hide in.
We need time to repair quietly.
Yeah, the first corner I can hide in, I go hide in. Yeah, I'm very much an introvert. Although I have a business that it really allows me to be extroverted and brings me out of myself. But if I had my druthers, I'm okay being in a corner by myself. I don't like being in charge of a room, and nobody believes me. But I like when everybody else is in charge and I just sit there and listen. But it's been interesting because coming out of it, I realized I like people more than I thought I did. I like being out there more than I thought I did, but I still tend to be a little bit quieter when I have the opportunity. But it's been hard for everyone. Anybody that's saying it hasn't been hard for them is just absolutely not telling the truth. And like we've said many times, this show has helped us be, really kind of therapy. It's been therapy for us, for both me and Glenn. And I'll tell you, I spent 3 hours a night being Glenn's therapist, man. That's a lot of work.
A lot of work. And he hasn't even been able to get any progress done. No fault of his. A lot of problems created from being an only child over here for me. So what are you going to do? But Sloan, looking forward, what are you most excited to do? Some of the things that you might not have been able to accomplish in your career or for your business specifically that you're finally saying, oh, we can get back to that. We can move forward in this direction. We can finally do X, Y, Z.
I think, what it makes me most excited is that we've reinvented some of the ways that we've done business. Mm-hmm. We took this opportunity to rethink certain departments, certain operations entirely.
Excellent.
And we've also kind of leaped forward technology-wise in ways that I think we would have been slow to. Now, there's a little bit of a disheartening factor to that it could lend to less jobs on a normalized occupancy basis, but it also will allow hotels to be more profitable at lower occupancy levels. So once we get back to 2019 revenues, I think a lot of hotels will actually be more profitable at the same revenue level. So that's really encouraging, and I think that'll allow the industry to get back faster. But it's great to see that we've kind of innovated in the middle of a crisis. I mean, a good example, we ran almost 70 shuttles across the company, huge cost, millions of dollars a year. And we now operate less than half that. And we have a partnership with Lyft, where if you want hotel transportation to the airport, we call you a Lyft, we pay for it. We have a direct enterprise agreement with them. We don't have the liability. So if you get in a car accident, it's Lyft's responsibility. You're not stuck in a van with 20 strangers in a COVID world, so they like it better. And it's a direct route to the airport, so you're not going from hotel A, B, C.
Nice.
With a better customer experience, we save insurance, liability risk for the owner, and we don't have, the maintenance, the lease of the shuttle, etc. So it's a win-win from a cost consumer perspective.
But do you have problems when you have problems when Lyft's? Do you have problems when Lyft's not available, or there's, you're waiting too long?
Luckily, we've only done it in major MSAs where they have plenty of supply. I'm sure if we were to do it in our secondary, tertiary markets, yes, supply would become a challenge.
Yeah.
But I was just using that as, we've done the same with mobile order and pay and F&B. We've really advanced our kind of food and beverage offerings, and it's more of a bar with a grab and go. We've done mobile key at 100% of our hotels, so our front desk is staffed with less people. So those are kind of some examples that we've accelerated our innovation in the middle of the pandemic, because we knew that we'd have to be profitable at lower occupancy levels.
Right. Anthony, it sounds a lot like what we've been preaching over the last year, that it's really an acceleration of trends that have been in the marketplace. And it sounds like Sloan's really leveraging that opportunity in order to find future success. Now, Sloan, one thing you said to me is you'd like to get back to, fuller staffing levels. I'm wondering if you could ever get back there. And I'm also thinking that what you're doing now, so you'll work with fewer employees, not really hurting a potential employee's income, but more like making sure that you can operate at 100% when you can't find those types of people anymore.
So I am convinced when we get back to 2019 occupancy levels, which is probably late 22, early 23, that the number of jobs on a normalized occupancy basis in the U.S. hotel industry will never recover. Mm-hmm. It will be lower, because of automation technology. Now, the opportunities per individual, they'll make more, so it'll be less hourly reliant. But there'll ultimately be more jobs, because if you look at every turn of this cycle, we've hit new demand highs. And I think by mid-2020s, we will be where hotel U.S. demand will be higher than it's ever been.
So what you're saying,
more hotels, more jobs, but
right.
per hotel,
right,
there will be less jobs.
Right. That makes a whole lot of sense to me as well. Anthony, that ring true to you?
Are you seeing, yes, and are you seeing more pressure on wages? Are you seeing more demand from prospective employees?
Yes, which I think for the employee is great, right? We've had to raise our hourly wage plans in probably 20 of our hotels over the last 6 months, because they're going to work in Amazon fulfillment centers, or they're going to work in another industry. So for your hourly housekeepers, front desk, et cetera, I think wage inflation is a challenge for the owners and the operators, because it applies margin pressure. But I think, yes, we're seeing wage increases across the board and wage inflation, definitely at the hourly level. And it's now starting to be at the manager level, where I now have maybe some executives where jobs are starting to open back up. And so I think Q2, Q3, you're seeing a lot of transition from company to company. We've had a lot of pressure in accounting and IT, because those people can go work in different industries, right? They may say, to hell with travel, I'm going to go work for Netflix.
Right.
So I think in your non-hospitality focus, like finance, accounting, human resources, IT, there's a good bit of pressure, because people want job security.
So pressure with low wage employees and the more unskilled variety, because it's fungible. They could go anywhere that they want. But also for certain specialties that aren't very hotel specific.
Exactly.
Challenges that you have there, Sloan. So how do you win over people to say, hey, the hotel business is so much cooler than working for Netflix, Amazon, or a lot of these other companies that are out there?
Because you interact with people.
Yeah.
You may go pack boxes at Amazon and make $20 an hour versus working front desk making $15.50. But you have a career path. You could become a general manager and make a significant amount of income. You could become CEO. You're not going to become CEO Amazon. You may become the floor manager making $26 an hour. You have to sell the career path and the vision, and then also the passion of interacting with people. This is a people business, and we're going to have guests, and you get to interact with those guests day in, day out. And I think it's also in what have you done during the pandemic? So we didn't cut pay at all, because we said the people that are active, we're sending them into World War III. So the last thing I'm going to do is say, take a 30% pay cut, now go work 80 hours a week.
Right.
We didn't do that.
Right.
We also paid out bonuses to all eligible associates in 2020.
Wow.
And so it was we called it a thank you payment, and it was significant. It was millions of dollars that we paid out. And I think those types of things, our associates will remember that even in the hard times. And we also carried about 4,000 people on furlough instead of laying them off, so they could keep getting benefits. So I think a lot of the good employers made those conscientious decisions, and people remember that.
Now, did you have to go to your owners of the hotels and work with them to say, this is what we want to do? And
yes.
I know it's tough for you, and I know it's hard, but we've got to do this as the right thing. And did most owners say okay, or did you have to get some in the headlock?
I'd say most. I had to there's one or two that I still have not fully convinced the benefit, that they're more focused on just survival from a cash perspective. But once you lay out the numbers, and you look at it on a long-term basis, we were able to get most all of our owners on board.
Excellent. So back to some of the nuts and bolts of running a business. I can't seem to find the question. Maybe one of you guys behind the stage can find it. Are you seeing like Smurf groups booking a little bit farther out? Because you talked about leisure being like that week. So how does that play into your overall strategy for the properties that utilize that business as a productivity tool, profitability?
Glenn, before he answers, guess what my question is? Let me interrupt again.
Yeah.
What's my question? You just asked him a question. about Smurf. Now you, Glenn, have to explain to people what Smurf is.
I will. I love how you're getting all confident with that. I usually during a lot of these shows do a lot of the lessons, but Smurf is really. Why am I forgetting what the S stands for all of a sudden? Man, it's been a long time. But it's like soccer groups and all of those types of things that would come. So what does that stand for again, Anthony? I'm totally blanking. I've thought of the freaking.
Go ahead, Sloan. Let him off the hook, Sloan.
I get them confused. It's social,
military,
educational, religious, and
social, military, educational, religious, and fraternal groups.
Fraternal.
Associated with sports, entertainment, and
there you go.
Groups. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Well, to the question, we are definitely seeing, we've been seeing a lot of military and government business all along. Actually, that was the one segment that held on pretty strong. And now we're starting to see, yes, a lot of youth sports in the summer booking. In anticipation of those events happening, we're seeing a lot of weddings booked second half of this year.
Yeah, I bet.
So all the kind of family association, or we're still not seeing a group citywide. So that's really 2022 and beyond, where they're booking further out. And we're still seeing small corporate group where maybe it's instead of your traditional 200, it's 30, and they want some type of hybrid meeting technology. And that really starts in Q3. But we're seeing encouraging. Our March bookings were the most group bookings we've had as a portfolio since December of 19.
Wow.
So, yes, and our cancellations were minuscule, whereas every month I was having millions of cancellations because people would wait, they would cancel. And we didn't see that in March, that most all the bookings held up. So that's a really great sign. I think the question becomes, when are large conventions coming back? And I think that's going to be slow and steady through the balance of this year, but then a huge upswing next year. I've already attended one in-person conference, and then you got the Hunter Conference next month, which will hopefully have really strong attendance.
Yes, and that'll be May 10th through 12th at the Atlanta Marriott Marquis. We'll be broadcasting live from there, guys. I cannot wait to be at that event, Sloan. It's going to be so much fun being with all the hotel industry peeps again.
And how was it being at the convention, Sloan? The convention you went to, how was it?
So it was at the Mandarin Oriental in Miami, and I actually thought it was going to be outdoors, but they had it indoors. And, you were supposed to keep your mask on in the public spaces. It had about 200 people. It was better attendance than I thought there would be. And it was great. I mean, we had, great line of speakers. They had it socially distanced where you could take your mask off when you were speaking. It was a little odd. I had a few people come up to me and talking to me, and I didn't know who they were. And then they took their mask off briefly, and I'm like, oh, okay, it's Anthony. It's kind of odd where, this person's face covered up, and they come up to you and assume that you know who they are. And then I'm trying to talk to them. So I think, unfortunately, the mask will continue to be a frequent guest of hybrid meetings, at least to the balance of this year.
Now, you were talking about a little bit, it'll take a little while for the big meetings to come back. But my concern is big meeting comes back, but it won't be a big meeting. It'll be medium-sized to, okay, we got a bunch of people here meeting. Does your gut tell you, have you any instinct around if an event got 1,000 people in 2019, in 2022, do you think they'll get like 80%, 70%?
No, I think they'll be back in 2022. You get the sense, like me attending that hotels conference and then hearing about people coming to Alice in July, people want to get back to meeting. This Zoom stuff is great, but it doesn't supplement the human spirit and wanting to travel. I mean, look at what's happening with domestic leisure, that we could be in a huge boom this summer for Florida resorts. People want to travel. People want to meet. I think we could see where large conventions are at almost prior attendance by the end of 2022. I do think it'll be a 12-month period, and you're going to have large employers loosen up their travel restrictions, and that doesn't happen until the end of this year. But I'm very bullish that next year we'll start to see convention attendance be very, very strong.
Well, I certainly hope you're right, because my fear, Sloan, is that when a company would send, let's say, 6 people, they might send 4 or 5 people. And in aggregate, that starts to add up. I don't know. Maybe I'm just negative Nelly, or maybe you're too Pollyanna. I don't know. The answer's probably somewhere in between, but I do hope that.
Well, think about this, though. So we always people talk about work from home. Don't use that. That's a dirty word. Mm-hmm. We should say work remote, because you can work from a hotel just as well as you can from your house, and the internet's probably faster at the hotel. So work remote, it should be the word. But if more people are working remote, they still have to get together and do business. And so that means they're going to travel more often. They're going to maybe go to conventions more often to meet with their peers, because they're not in the office as often. So it could have a converse benefit to hotels that we've not seen. And you're seeing it in some of the leisure-oriented hotels. Like I run a resort on Lake Travis in Austin. It's selling out Thursdays too, because what's happening is the executive like me is going there Thursday,
right,
and working remote Friday, and then enjoying the weekend. There's no reason that convention pickup can't be more, because they're now saying, well, go and mingle, and because you're not in the office anymore.
But make sure your hotel has adequate internet.
Right. And incentivize people to do that. Incentivize people, talk about it. Tell people, we will give you this, and this included if you come with your family Monday through Thursday, and you work and you educate from school, from our hotel, and you'll get this included, that included, you'll get a discount. Incentivize people, and people show up.
You're absolutely right.
Yep. So Michael Weinberg says, do you consider permanently shifting your business mix at group houses so as to protect yourself? I'm going to say no.
I think you have to in the short term to mitigate cash burn. So I'll give you an example. We run a really big group house that is mostly corporate group, and we don't see a lot of that coming back till 2022. So we took 2 additional airline crews at that hotel to basically shrink the box down. And then that way we could be at cash flow positive. It's not my long-term strategy, because we do anticipate the most profitable business for us at that hotel is corporate groups that have, a lot of extra spend. Mm-hmm. And I think you're going to see some of that. You'll see a lot of that business come back next year. But it's almost hedging for the next 12 months. If you're really group-centric, you probably need to take more transient. But ultimately, I think it'll come back.
I agree with you, Sloan, and I think that is the absolute right approach to take. Take it from me. I've never been in hotel operations, so I know what I'm talking about over here, Sloan. But I do think when you're thinking about this, one of the things that we keep hearing about, Sloan, is that leisure people, you could get more per room, but also they're not necessarily spending as many dollars at your hotel as if you have a group. How are you seeing it? And are you trying to get leisure folks to maybe pull out a few more dollars from their pocket to make up the difference?
Yeah, it's a great point. And I think if you're a hotel that had a lot of banquet and catering revenues, that will be the last portion to recover. Mm-hmm. So, even as group comes back, they're spending less per attendee. And I think getting banquet and catering revenues to recover is going to be several years. And so, yes, you have to mitigate that. I think, what we've tried to do in our group houses where banquet catering revenue is almost zero, really drive as much business through our bars as we can. We really tried to drive a lot of mobile order and pay food and beverage that we didn't have before. It's just an in-room guest, and maybe they're not comfortable going out to restaurants. So we really tried to cater to that. But I don't think you can ever fully offset it. If you were getting $200 per attendee a day in banquets, and now that's gone.
Right.
It's going to be years before that comes back.
Yeah, take advantage of all those people that started drinking at home. Just bring it on the road with you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's a cleaning problem in the room, but for sure, people are drinking in the rooms. And if you've got a bar with grab and go capabilities, you can crank some volume for sure.
Right. And there's just a lot extra bottles and stuff to clean out of the rooms than typical. Not that one beer with the third left in it that somebody didn't finish.
Yeah, exactly. Good trash for the room.
Well, I got an idea for you, man. Get these. Go to ecotechwaste.com.
There you go. And I wasn't even paid to say that.
We should really use that, Sloan, in all your hotels. That should be mandatory for all your hotels.
Do you get a commission per trash?
Absolutely
basket?
not. Absolutely not.
We just really
Just
appreciate
good people.
Yeah.
Just good
Yeah.
people over there.
All right, so Sloan, wrapping up because I'm sure Anthony has to get back to whatever mystery thing he's doing at the top of the hour over there. Any final words of wisdom? Any final thoughts before you go?
I think I would just say to people, I made a post on LinkedIn in December when I had COVID, and I talked about winter solstice was December 20th. And that was really the darkest time for our country. We had cases rising, the vaccine hadn't been fully, and we were still in the middle of the election, Trump administration trying to fight. And so very dark days. And summer solstice is June 20th. So I'm sorry, winter solstice was December 21st. Summer solstice is June 20th. By that day, we will very well be in the full boom of travel recovery. Now, we'll still be dealing with the pandemic some, but every American will have had access to a vaccine by then. So get vaccinated. And I think this summer we'll be in the middle of a boom in travel that will surprise a lot of folks. And so just when December was the darkest day of the pandemic, I think by June we'll be in the lightest days.
Oh, we will. The Biden administration just said today that any adult in the United States is now eligible. That's really great news.
Yep. Great news. And, in just a few more months, I think we're going to see just an upswing, a hockey stick approach to occupancy. And so I'll write that date down on your calendar, June 20th. I think you'll look back in time and that will be a bright day for Americans.
That's beautiful. I love it. Now, Sloan, before you go, I do want to say, if you guys want to hear more of Sloan's story, you can check it out in the Adapters, the book I did with Sean Worker over there. He's featured in here. Go check it out right now at Amazon.com, theadapters.net, and all that good stuff here. His long-form interviews, as well as some other great short-form content. All right. Man, it was so great seeing you today, Sloan. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys, and great to be with you.
And we'll see you, hopefully, on the road.
Yep, we'll see it. We'll see it at upcoming conferences. I'll be there.
Can't wait.
Thank you, Sloan.
Take care. Be good.
All right, be good.
That was, again, man, day after day after day after day after day after day. Such great interviews. I love that we get these great people on here, Anthony.
And most importantly, we taught people things today. We
Yes.
taught them words. Taught them what the abbreviations meant. And I always get a kick out of that. That's my favorite part.
Yeah, I do too. All right, let's wrap this up so you can get back to it, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Tomorrow we got another great show. We are going to be hearing, I think, from Teague Hunter from the Hunter Hotel Investment Conference. We're going to be talking a little bit about that to start off. They're going to speak with Dan Cockrell. You might know him as writing books. He's a former person that worked with Disney. He ran the Magic Kingdom. He ran Epcot. And we're going to learn about leadership lessons on how to handle it going forward. Right, Anthony?
That is right, Glenn. And where can you find us, Glenn? Where can you find us?
Now, our fancy new graphic up there. Thank you, producer Suzanne, for making sure that got taken care of. All right, everybody, thanks so much for being here. Remember, you got one life, so blaze on. And
I'd like to be able to do that graphic again and then tell people where they can find us. So why don't we put that graphic up again?
Yeah.
And
all right.
You can follow us where, Glenn?
You can follow us in a lot of different places. Get the audio version of our podcast because we know you're getting back to it. You're getting busy. You might not be able to watch every single show. Find them on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and of course, wherever finer podcasts are found. And of course, there's all our social media stuff out there. He's Anthony Hotels. I'm Traveling Glenn. We can't wait to be on the road doing it again. It's coming real soon. Anything else that you got to say, brother?
Be kind to yourself.
All right, everybody. See you tomorrow.